What if I told you that 12 years of loyalty could be repaid with a knife in the back, and that the same hands that betrayed me would end up begging me to save them? This is not fiction. This is exactly what happened to me, and by the end of this story, you'll understand why every corrupt executive should fear the quiet engineer sitting in the corner of the room. I spent 12 years building the entire digital backbone of a company called Vanguard Defense Solutions. I gave that place everything, every late night, every weekend, every ounce of trust I had. I believed that kind of dedication would be respected. I was wrong. On an ordinary Tuesday evening, while the server room hummed around me, I overheard something through a thin boardroom wall that changed everything. My CEO, Arthur Sterling, and the CFO, Raymond Vance, were quietly planning to fire me. Not because I had failed at my job, but because I had done it too well. I had uncovered strange billing patterns, inflated labor costs, and equipment charges for machines that didn't even exist, all buried inside government defense contracts. Instead of correcting the fraud, they decided the real problem was me, the man who found it. Their plan was simple: remove me quietly, replace me with the CEO's 26-year-old son, a young man with zero technical background, and bury the truth before anyone noticed. What they didn't know was that my past had prepared me for exactly this moment. Before this job, I served as a Navy communications technician, and there's one lesson that world teaches you early. The most dangerous threats rarely come from outside. They come from within the walls you trust the most. Back in 2019, this same leadership had already tried to blame me for a data issue that was actually their own financial cover-up. That was the moment I stopped trusting them completely. So quietly, without a single word to anyone, I built a hidden safety system inside the company's mainframe. I called it the Sanction Protocol. It was a digital dead man's switch, buried under 30 layers of completely legitimate code, invisible to anyone who hadn't written it themselves. It had one simple rule: stay silent, stay hidden, unless my access was ever forcibly shut down. If that happened, the system wouldn't see it as a normal exit, it would see it as a hostile breach, and it would respond accordingly, compiling 18 months of executive emails, encrypted messages, financial records, and transaction logs, then sending it all straight to federal investigators. I had built my own insurance policy, and I had waited years for the day I might need it. That day arrived faster than I expected. On Wednesday morning, the chief technology officer, Warren Gable, started casually hanging around my desk, asking questions that sounded innocent but weren't. He wanted my network access keys, dressed up as friendly curiosity. I played along, calm on the outside, while quietly reviewing every detail of my hidden protocol to make sure it was ready. By Thursday, corporate security was doing unannounced walkthroughs near my station, scanning my screen for anything unusual. I kept typing, steady and unbothered, telling them it was just routine backup work. They had no idea the real system was hiding in plain sight, disguised as maintenance code. Friday afternoon is when everything came to a head, and what happened next inside that boardroom would set off a chain of events that none of them saw coming. At exactly 4:15 on Friday afternoon, my monitor lit up with a message summoning me to the executive boardroom. I already knew what was waiting for me. Inside sat the termination team, thick folders stacked in front of them, filled with non-disclosure agreements, liability waivers, and a severance offer designed to make me sign quietly and disappear without questions. They demanded I hand over every master password, every administrative key, every access token, so they could give full control of the entire digital infrastructure to the CEO's inexperienced son. I stayed calm. I typed out my basic login details, but I left out one thing: the master authentication sequence that protected the sanction protocol. Before I signed anything, I gave them a clear, honest warning. I told them the system required manual reauthentication every 72 hours, or it would automatically lock down. They laughed it off. Confident, arrogant, and completely unaware, they assured themselves that some outside consulting firm could handle any small technical detail. At 5:23 that evening, armed security walked me out of the building. 12 years of my professional life fit into a single cardboard box. I sat in my truck, watched the office lights shut off one by one, and knew that somewhere deep inside that mainframe, a countdown had already begun, and nothing they did now could stop it. Over the weekend, I disconnected completely. I turned off the noise, ignored the flood of panicked calls from Warren, from Clayton, and eventually from the CEO himself, and I took my teenage daughter Juliet out to the lake. No phones, no emails, just peace. Exactly 72 hours after my termination, at 5:23 on Sunday evening, my phone rang one last time. I picked it up. Arthur Sterling's voice was shaking, desperate, offering me my job back, a promotion to Chief Technology Officer, and full control if I would just fix whatever had gone wrong. I told him calmly that it was already too late. The sanction protocol had finished sending everything 14 minutes earlier. Monday morning hit Vanguard Defense Solutions like a storm. Federal law enforcement vehicles filled the parking lot. Armed agents carried search warrants, loading servers and hard drives into unmarked black vans. By noon, news crews had set up outside the gates, and financial networks across the country were reporting on a massive defense contractor corruption scandal. That same afternoon, I received a call from the Pentagon's Inspector General. They made it clear I was being treated as a protected whistleblower, not a suspect, and they asked for my help understanding the network I had built. As federal investigators dug deeper, the truth turned out to be even worse than anyone imagined. This wasn't a few accounting mistakes. Forensic accountants traced a systematic, years-long fraud. The Sterling family had stolen $320 million from taxpayers, submitting low competitive bids, and then secretly inflating the real costs through fake labor charges and equipment that never existed. And it got darker. Investigators found that $18 million had been quietly pulled from ordinary employees' retirement funds to pay for country club memberships and yacht payments. By Tuesday morning, Arthur Sterling, Raymond Vance, and Harrison Sterling were all under federal arrest, facing serious criminal charges, and the story of the hidden system that exposed them all was about to change my life completely. The media couldn't stop talking about it. A single hidden protocol had brought down an entire corrupt empire overnight. Eventually, I was called to testify in front of a Congressional Oversight Committee about technology and ethics. I told them the truth. The system wasn't built for revenge. It was built to hold people accountable when leadership refused to hold themselves accountable. The Department of Defense was impressed, not just by the technical design, but by the integrity behind it, and they offered me a position as principal cybersecurity architect. I said yes without hesitation. Watching my daughter Juliet smile proudly at my official swearing-in made every difficult moment of that year worth it. The criminal trials moved quickly because federal prosecutors had something rare, an overwhelming, airtight mountain of evidence, all captured automatically by the sanction protocol. Arthur Sterling was sentenced to 22 years in a maximum security federal prison. His co-conspirators received long sentences too, with no chance of early release. Because the system had documented everything so precisely, investigators didn't need to spend years piecing the case together, and I was awarded the maximum statutory whistleblower reward, $700,000. Juliet used part of that money to enroll in a top university, studying robotics and automated ethics. She wants to build technology that protects human values, not just profits, a lesson she learned watching everything unfold firsthand. 6 months into my new role at the Pentagon, I received a handwritten letter from an elderly woman, a former Vanguard factory worker whose pension had just been fully restored through the court's asset recovery process. She thanked me for giving working people their future back. That letter sits on my desk today, right next to my daughter's first engineering trophy, a quiet reminder that one person's choices can ripple further than they ever expect, and that real skill means nothing without honesty behind it. If there's one thing I want you to take from this story, it's this. Loyalty is important, but blind loyalty to a corrupt system will never protect you. If powerful people ever try to silence you for telling the truth, don't just walk away quietly. Build something that speaks for you before you're forced out the door. Protect the evidence, protect yourself, because the truth always finds a way out, one way or another. If this story hit you the way it hit me, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and drop a comment below telling me what you would have done in my position. Would you have built your own sanction protocol? Let's talk about it down there. And if you want more real stories like this one, stories about power, corruption, and the people who fight back, stick around, because there's a lot more coming. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.